Welcome to Riding Counsel with Rich Jaffe, where the open road meets expert advice. I'm Richard Jaffe, an attorney and biking enthusiast, and this is the podcast where we dive into the world of motorcycling, safety, culture, charitable giving, and riding right. So, whether you're a seasoned rider or just getting started, let's talk bikes, the road, and everything in between. Let's ride! Hello, all the people out in ridingcounsel.com podcast land. Thank you so much for joining us. If it's your first time here, welcome. Thanks for listening and watching. And if you're a return visitor, thank you very much for coming back. Really very thankful for all my listeners and everybody who emails me both publicly and privately. I am Rich Jaffe. I am an attorney practicing personal injury, mostly motorcycle accident law. I am a podcaster and I am a motorcycle enthusiast. And I am here today with my good friend Million. And today we're going to discuss some things about lawyers, okay? Because there's all kinds of lawyers. And I want to talk about what actually are some red flags that might indicate to you that your lawyer might not be so good. So you might be in trouble if your lawyer does these things. So things to look out for, some lawyerly advice. And I'm sorry to say that, look, it's like every other profession, right? I think some lawyers are fantastic at what they do, really talented. And I think some lawyers are not so talented. So you want the best, not only the best lawyer, but the best lawyer for you. But let me quickly introduce my co-host and friend. His name is Million. Hello, Million. Thanks a lot for being here with us today. How are you?
Well, hello. It's a pleasure to be here as always. I'm excited. Hello to the audience, and thank you for joining us repeatedly. And we had talked a lot up to this point about bad clients and bad decisions,
Right.
bad insurance. We really haven't gotten into bad lawyer. But so we have some flags. The question that I guess I would naturally open with to you is, what does it actually mean to be, quote, a bad lawyer? I mean, we talking utterly incompetent? We talking personality clashes, something entirely different? How are we defining what bad is right off the bat?
Yeah, so I mean, it could fit a lot of definitions, right? But a lawyer who does not advocate for you the way you want to be advocated for is a bad lawyer. So that's generally the definition of what a bad lawyer is. And it could be anything. They could be citing law that's incorrect to the judge and losing respect. They could be misquoting you. They could be misrepresenting your story. They might not know the particular area of law. For instance, personal injury really is a focus of a lot of lawyers, and you have to know what you're doing. And if you don't practice personal injury on a regular basis, then it's not a good idea to start with a really big case. And hire co-counsel who can work the case with you, and they'll teach you. Or go to a continuing legal education course and learn about it. But don't just jump in there. I mean, if you think about it, it's just like a doctor saying, normally I'm a foot doctor. You got a problem with your eye? Yeah, I could fix it. Sure. I got a great set of tools. And, they go in and try to fix it. Nobody's going to trust you on that, so you might really like the lawyer. He's a nice guy or a nice woman. But if they don't have the talent, if they don't have the knowledge and expertise, then that would be a bad lawyer, even though you like them a lot.
I would assume, too, that I guess the example that comes to my mind is when you see like a pro sports team and they sign the big free agent as great player, and then they get on the team and it just doesn't mesh. And it's like, uh-oh. So even in those cases, you can get a lawyer that's actually pretty good on paper, but maybe just for whatever reason, it's the wrong fit for that particular client. So it may not be bad in the traditional sense. It may just be a bad fit as well. Correct?
Oh, yeah, there has to be a chemistry between the client and the lawyer, and if that chemistry isn't there, then it's not gonna click and it's not gonna work. So, if you're somebody who normally communicates by phone, let's say, and your lawyer is always running around and likes to email and doesn't really call you, it ain't gonna work for you. You're gonna get super frustrated and, vice versa too. So, communication is a really big thing. Also, if your lawyer is somebody who is always on the move and you're not. So if you want to take the time and actually talk to your lawyer and explain exactly what's going on in your life, and your lawyer doesn't have the time to listen to you, That's not going to work either. And if your lawyer is going to go to court and basically misrepresent your story because they don't know it very well, or they're going to make things up, or they're going to somehow use artificial intelligence in a way that it's not really supposed to be
Oh.
used to make things up, then that lawyer is not going to work with you either. So it really has to be a chemistry with the client and the lawyer, and also the office, because you're going to interact with paralegals, calendar clerks, receptionists. So if these people are not doing right by you, or you feel like there's a rub, some sort of tension there, it's not going to work. You deserve better. And it doesn't mean that they're not talented lawyers. They can be very accomplished lawyers, but it's just not the right lawyer for you.
So when we get into red flags, I could think of several right off the top here, but I would assume, and I know from personal experience, when I have, let's say, tried to reach out to an attorney for maybe some advice or to explore something, go to the website, fill out a form, and we'll get right back to you. And they never get back to you. Or you call, leave a message, we'll call you back as soon as possible, and they never call you. So to me, I guess a red flag in and of itself is, you're mentioning communication. So how big of a red flag is it if your lawyer's not returning your calls, returning your emails, even right off the bat? That's a pretty big one, I would assume.
That is a very big one. And actually, communication breakdowns are, the last I looked, it was the number one complaint for complaints against attorneys, that they don't communicate with their clients. They don't let the client know what's going on. They don't answer emails. They don't answer telephone calls. They don't answer texts. So your lawyer definitely has to be accessible to you. And look, you got to, first of all, let's give your lawyer some reasonable times to respond, right? So if you call and your lawyer doesn't get back to you within like an hour or something like that, give him a break. Okay, maybe he's in court, maybe he's with other clients, maybe he's doing something else, who knows. But let's be reasonable. And I think like a day would be reasonable, at least to get at least a message to you through his or her staff that, look, I'm on trial, I'm at a deposition, and I'm going to get back to you as soon as possible. This is not going to affect the rest of your case. So yeah, it's a really big thing. And I think that's what you're entitled to, because first of all, there has to be an understanding on both sides. The lawyer has to understand that this is his or her client's only case. So while the lawyer has 100 files, 200 files, however many in his repertoire, that if he or she loses the case for the client, there's going to be another case coming right down the bat. So coming down the pike. So it's going to be okay. There's going to be some income coming in for the lawyer, but for the client, it's his or her only case. And
Right.
that's the way you deserve to be treated if you're a client, that it's the only case of the lawyer because it's your only case. So there has to be a mutual understanding on both sides. You have to be reasonable with your lawyer, but your lawyer has to also understand and treat you like you are the only client of that law firm.
Mm-hmm. When you are the client and you have, I guess from the client side of it, it's very easy to get impatient a little bit, or kind of high expectations of what's going to happen, especially if you don't know much about the process. So at the same time, you would say, well, to me this is urgent, but maybe to the actual lawyer it's not an urgent matter. And so how do you actually define what is urgent, what's not in one of these legal cases? Like how as a client how much slack, how do I know how much slack to cut? I guess is the question.
Right. Well, look, here's the thing. I'm really happy that we're talking about this, okay? Because if I see lawyer commercials are on every channel, every radio station, everywhere, okay? And if I hear one more time, we will treat you like family, okay? I don't know what kind of family these people are coming from, but I don't want to be in that family, okay? Because that's ridiculous. If they treat you like this, do they really treat their families like this? Because that's crazy. That's just crazy talk.
I don't call my family back either, so
Yeah, I mean, God, I look, I'm 57, right? And my kids are grown now. I mean, they're in their 20s, but if one of them calls, I don't care where I am. I always answer the phone. I always get, because they're calling me for a reason, right? And if I'm busy, I say, okay, I'm going to get back to this later. But it's my kids. I mean, family is always first for me. But if a lawyer's going to say, "Oh, we treat you like family," okay, well then live up to that. Live up to that. I challenge you to live up to that if you're an attorney. Okay. And there's some that are. Okay. And I try my very best to do that. And I even have a message that plays on my cell phone that says, I'm going to get back to you in 10 minutes. And if you don't hear from me in 10 minutes, then call my office directly, because that means I'm either in a deposition or something like that. And I live up to that. But, it's when you're the client, everything is important and everything should be important to you. So if you have a question at 3 in the morning, when you can't get to sleep, well, your case doesn't have office hours. It doesn't have office hours. So in my world, you are allowed to call me at 3 in the morning, and you are allowed to ask that question. Okay. If it comes up, because if it bothers you that much, then it's important. If it's important to you, then it's important to me. And if it's not important to your lawyer, well, it should be. And again, red flag. If you feel your case is not your lawyer's most important case, if your lawyer is not prioritizing your case, well, you got a problem. You got a problem. And I'm not going to say that you're stuck with your lawyer either. So if you're not getting along with your lawyer, you have options. You can always switch. Maybe we'll talk about that a little later, because I really want to stay with your question. But you know, it's okay if you're a client to hold your lawyer to a certain standard. I'm not saying the highest standard, because generally I would say personal injury attorneys and motorcycle accident attorneys like me, well, we are held to the highest standards, because people want immediate service. And that's okay with me, because I try to deliver that. But if your lawyer isn't trying at least to deliver that kind of service to you, then you got a problem. You got a problem, and you really have to evaluate.
Another flag I would imagine is a pretty big one is, let's say you have an attorney that's procedurally missing things such as deadlines or filing for certain things. How common is that? And I would assume that's a huge flag.
Hey, whenever it happens, it's a problem. Whenever it happens, it's a problem. And it happens most of the time when lawyers either take on too many cases or they don't know what they're doing. So if you usually do real estate and you take on a personal injury case, or if you are a general personal injury attorney and you take on a motorcycle accident case
Mhm.
and you try to do something with that, then it's going to be a problem, because you're not going to know all the ins and outs of the law. The law is constantly changing, constantly changing. I mean, almost daily. And me personally, I'm reading all the time. I read case law. I subscribe to all these services that deliver all kinds of new case law and things that are happening. So I stay up on things. And not only that, I also research motorcycles. So I want to know all the safety gear, all the safety equipment. I want to know the different standards that are out there for motorcycles, because if there's some sort of change, I have to know about it and I have to be able to act and react. But all too often, it's a problem. And, I think clients also have a responsibility to themselves. And with everything online, you could track your own case. Okay. All you got to do is ask your attorney, I want the index number and the venue where my case is. And there are free services, free, on how to track your case, and you'll get emails every time something happens with your case. And if you don't know how, by the way, I will be happy to share with you how. And that's another free service that I offer. Okay. So I'm just going to take this opportunity to tell you a couple of the free things that I do. One of the free things I do is, if you call me, even if you don't have a case, if you call me and you want to review your insurance policy, I will make sure that you have the right type of insurance. Okay. And for what you can afford, I will do that for free. Free. Okay. It doesn't get any cheaper than that. And if you call me and you request a set of emergency lights, and you're a motorcyclist that likes to ride, I will give you a set of emergency flare lights free. And if you have a case that you want to talk about and you call me, I will talk about your case. I will give you free legal advice. Again, free. Okay. So, and I'm also making podcasts like this to give you free information. So all this stuff is free. All you got to do, please, everybody, I encourage you to like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share if you like what's here. And leave me a comment. Leave me a comment here. I mean, how many of you out there, I really want to know, have a lawyer now, or had a lawyer and had an experience with that lawyer that really wasn't so hot? And I really want to discuss it. I think it's something that's not discussed a lot, and we have to discuss it, because there's a lot of lawyers out there, a lot of myths, and there's a lot of truths. But let's flesh it out. So Everybody, like, subscribe, share, and find me online. Okay, ridingcounsel.com. Riding, ridingcounsel.com. Anyway, so lots of free stuff.
Free is always. I can provide you free sarcasm and sardonic wit, and if you
Yes.
need a general surly persona, I can provide that free of cost as well. Leave a comment down below, and we shall cover it. So
I hear
then,
you're fluent. You're fluent in that.
fluent,
Yes.
like
Beautiful.
like doctoral level. Anyway, so something that I was very surprised by many years ago when I had an accident case going on myself, that I had to make phone call to my lawyer. Actually, another case I had this happen to. Called my lawyer, finally got him on the phone, had to talk to him like 5-10 minutes. Find out I get billed for that and quite a bit. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know. And you get them on the phone. It's however many dollars for 15 minutes, these little blocks of billing. And I'm like, oh, okay. How does a client spot things like overbilling, or maybe we're overdoing it, or I don't have a law degree, or I'm not an accountant. I don't know how you manage it. How can you sort of spot if, someone's padding it up a little bit?
Okay. So, really good question again. Now, another thing that I do because prices are up, inflation is up. Uh, I just read something about eggs again that they're up another like 5% or something like that as a result of inflation. But be that as it may, I know how hard it is to get good legal representation. And as a motorcycle accident attorney representing people who are hurt in accidents while riding a motorcycle, what I do is I operate on a contingency fee basis. That means if you don't win, you do not pay me. You don't pay me a nickel, you don't pay me a dime, you don't pay me a penny. Only if you win do you pay me. And that usually is 1/3 of what I recover. So you don't pay anything out of your own pocket. And that makes it easier for anybody. It makes me accessible to anybody who's hurt as a result of somebody else's negligence. So you don't have to pay out of pocket up front. You don't do that. But you also need to read the retainer. Read the retainer, okay? Because this retainer is a contract, okay? And it's given to you in the very beginning of the case. And it's a contract between you, the client, and the attorney. And it says what the attorney is going to do. And it says some of your responsibilities. And it's supposed to tell you exactly what the attorney charges. Okay. It's supposed to be crystal clear and it's in writing. And once you sign that, then you're agreeing to pay those rates. But just in case, okay, if you even have questions after that, ask for updated bills. You can call every month and say, hey, can you please send me a bill? Can you please send me an updated itemized bill? And you'd be entitled to that as a client. And you could really watch what the costs are, what they're billing you for. And it's great to straighten out any misunderstandings right then and there. So the earlier you could straighten out any discrepancies, the better. And of course, if there's too many discrepancies, then big red flag, big red flag. And if the billing is not really consistent with the retainer, well, big red flag. You got a problem there, and your lawyer is out for something other than justice for you. Your lawyer does not have you as their number one concern. So, you have a responsibility, to watch to yourself, but the lawyer also has a responsibility to do what's in that retainer.
In the relationship between the client and the attorney, I would assume you have your initial consult, like you're talking about. Some lawyers will sort of overpromise a little bit, underdeliver at times, fudge the truth a little bit. So, what are some maybe subtle ways that a lawyer will fudge this truth with clients? And can you give some examples of, how they sort of,
Yeah.
I guess, lure people in this case?
Happens all the time. Happens all the time. And it's a shame because when you walk into, let me just talk about motorcycle accident cases specifically here, okay, which is a type of personal injury case. But you as a motorcycle accident victim will walk into a personal injury lawyer and you're going to say, look, what's my case worth, man? What's my case worth? I feel like I got a big case, and any lawyer in the beginning of a case who tells you your case is millions, man, this is what it's worth, they're lying to you. And that's a big red flag. Any lawyer who does that, okay, because there's no way it's virtually impossible for any lawyer to tell you the value of your case when you walk in the door. You don't know the insurance coverage. Okay. So you can have your leg could fall off, and that injury is worth obviously a lot of money. Okay. But if the other person only has $25,000 worth of coverage and no assets, guess what you're getting?
Mhm.
$25,000. So when the lawyer says, "Oh, you're going to get millions, man," no, that's a lie. Okay. That's an exaggeration. And that's only meant for one thing, and that is to trick you into staying with this lawyer and not look elsewhere.
Uh,
So don't fall for it. Any lawyer who does that is just blowing smoke, and it's wrong. It's very wrong, and it sets the client up for a certain disappointment because the client never gets what is promised initially. Only after the information comes in that a lawyer could say, "Let's evaluate your case as a whole and give you the real story."
So we wanted to get back to the topic of possibly switching out a lawyer. Maybe you're starting to pick up on these red flags. Things are just, you gut check a little bit. Maybe you feeling something's off here. How much grace do you give your attorney before you're like, all right, this is time to move on? How do you know like what the deciding factor is? How would you advise someone?
I would say there at times there could be one deciding factor. It could be several things that happen in a row. Look, you got to give your lawyer a little bit of leeway because your lawyer is a human being, right? So if your lawyer, I don't know, has a bad day, or you try to call your lawyer on the weekend or something like that, and your lawyer might be away, your lawyer might be on vacation, or like a simple misunderstanding. Okay, so just make sure that you verify why you're angry and try to give your lawyer the benefit of the doubt. But if things still don't pan out and you have that gut feeling inside that something's wrong here, well, trust your gut. Trust your gut and don't let it go, because if your lawyer is doing a little thing that's not really kosher with you, then that lawyer is probably doing a lot of other things behind the scenes that's not very kosher with you. So, it probably pays to meet with your lawyer face to face and go over your file piece by piece, piece of paper by piece of paper. All right. You can do that. You're entitled to that. And if you're not satisfied there and you still have questions, then you got to leave. You got to look for another lawyer. And there's no shame in that. And, it doesn't hurt the lawyer that you're leaving, because in the personal injury world, at the end of the case, your old lawyer who you left and your new lawyer who comes in for you, they talk about the fees, they fight about the fees. And if the fee cannot be decided between the two, then a judge will have to sign it. But in no way will you end up paying more than what your original retainer was, which is 1/3. You don't have to pay two times because you get two lawyers. So that's a very important thing. And you always have the right to switch lawyers.
If you're kind of in the middle of a case where maybe things are getting hot and heavy, or maybe we're going to trial, we decided to go that direction. Does switching attorneys hurt you in your case in any way? Is that like looked at as good or bad?
Well, it okay. So it could be both. It could be good and it could be bad. Because if your lawyer is not doing a good job for you, then it's highly likely that the insurance company on the other side, who eventually is going to pay the claim, is going to know about it, because everybody knows everybody else in this world. And usually reputation also carries you very far. So if you don't have a very good reputation in the community,
Mm.
then you're not going to get the respect that you deserve. And if you're not somebody who fights all the time, goes to trial, and is well known for what they do, well, the insurance companies are going to know that too, and they're going to lowball it. And then if you find out that this is going on and you switch attorneys to somebody who is more reputable and knows what they're doing and will fight for you correctly, the insurance company is going to say, okay, well, this guy must be really hurt and his case must be really valuable because he did switch away from this lawyer. So it can help you in that regard. But at times when it can hurt you, if you're on the doorsteps of the courthouse and you're almost going to go to trial and everything is set up for you, then a new attorney has to come in and really learn the case and not really know it very well and operate under pressure. So try not, if you're going to switch attorneys, try to do it at the soonest possible moment, as opposed to
Mm.
waiting for the last minute and doing that at trial.
So, over the course of our time here, we've discussed several of these red flags: miscommunication, or maybe not being priority, exaggerating things, claims, and all that. If there was one deciding red flag in all this, if the client came into it, what is one thing they need to look for that's like, that's it, I'm out of here, and making that switch?
I would think, me personally, you have to look at the values of the lawyer that you're working with. Okay. Because if your value systems don't match up to yours, if your value systems don't match up to the attorneys,
Mm.
then you're never going to get along correctly. So values such as putting family first, or always giving respect to anybody who you come across. Things like that really matter to me. And my attorney, whoever I choose, has to have a value system that matches mine. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Okay. So if my attorney, that I have somebody that, I see treating a staff member very rudely, or, the receptionist very rudely, or even goes out and treats a waiter or something like that very rudely, we're all people and everybody deserves respect. So if that attorney of mine is disrespectful to somebody, then I know somehow it's going to carry over somewhere else. I would just see that as a really big red flag, and I wouldn't want anybody representing me that's going to carry themselves like that.
So viewers, there you have it. Ridingcounsel.com. Rich Jaffe over here. He's your guy. That's all I'm saying. Free insurance review, the emergency lights, which I might put him for one of those. I don't know. We'll see. The case consult for free, and then working on the contingency basis. So we take some of these elements off the table. Plus, watching this video, you get to see the personality and see what he's like. And I'm telling you, he's your guy. Ridingcounsel.com. Make sure you check it out, and leave comments down below if you've been in a case where you've had an attorney that was a nightmare. You've seen these red flags. You switched. Let us know how it worked out for you, because we can definitely discuss that, and maybe share a little bit of your settlement with us. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. So it's just
And listen, everybody, please do me a favor. If you like the content, it's going to help me get more out. If you like, share, and subscribe, and you can always find me online. Just pick up your phone, go to ridingcounsel.com, and there's a big button. Click to call. You could call me, you can email me, text me, whatever you want. But I really appreciate if you leave some comments, interact with me, like, subscribe, and share, people. And I want everybody out there to ride free, ride wild, just do so legally. And we're going to hit you up with another episode very soon. But until then, I appreciate everybody out there. Thanks a lot for listening, and see you soon.
All right. See you soon, guys.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Riding Counsel with Richard Jaffe. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the ride, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your fellow riders. Until next time, keep the rubber side down and ride safe.